So we can use the unit circle, which is a circle of radius 1, to find different coordinates along it. So in question A, we have that the x-coordinate is 2/3. And any circle has the equation of x squared plus y squared equals r squared. Because we're dealing with the unit circle, the radius is 1. So the unit circle in general has the equation of x squared plus y squared equals 1. Knowing that the x-coordinate is 2/3, we can plug that in. And then we can do the necessary math to actually figure out the y-coordinate. So 2/3 squared is 4/9. We need to take the 4/9 over. Keep in mind that 1 is actually 9/9, since we're going to be dealing with fraction addition. So then we get to y squared equals 5/9. We square root both sides, putting a plus or minus with the 5/9. And so we get y equals plus or minus the square root of 5/9. Now, remembering back from pre-calc 20 that we can't leave a square root in the bottom of a fraction, we need to deal with that. So what we can do is we can split that root into two separate ones. We can't take the square root of 5, so we'll just leave it as the square root of 5, but we can take the square root of 9, which is 3. Perfectly fine to leave a square root on the top. We've gotten rid of the square root on the bottom, and these are two y-coordinates that satisfy that. Question B, we know what the y-coordinate is. We also have an added condition that the point's in quadrant 3. We'll deal with that in a moment. So we started off with the unit circle equation. We know what the y-coordinate is. When we square -1/√2, we get 1/2. Because -1 squared is 1, and √2 squared is 2. Knowing that we'll need a common denominator, 1 is actually 2/2. Subtract that 1/2, so we get x squared equals 1/2. We square root both sides, plus or minus with the 1/2. So we have x equals plus or minus square root of 1/2. Again, we need to simplify this, so we'll split that root in 2. In this case, we can take the square root of 1, which is 1, but we can't take the square root of 2. Now, even though the question was presented with a root in the bottom, we can't leave it that way. So again, going back to pre-calc 20, to eliminate a root in the bottom, we need to multiply by that root. Multiplying on top, 1 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 2. And on the bottom, √2 times √2 is just 2. Now, without the condition that the point is in quadrant 3, we would be done here. But because we have the condition that the point is in quadrant 3, one of those two answers, either the positive or the negative, will get rejected. So going back to the xy axis, where is quadrant 3? Well, quadrant 1 is top right, 2, 3, and 4. We know our point is down here in the bottom left. With that point being there, we're on the negative side of the x-axis, so the x-coordinate of that point has to be negative. So we'll reject the positive, So in this case, x just equals the negative square root of 2 over 2.